So at this point, you had mentioned that your father is an atheist. You grew up in a Muslim area. And so when did Christianity become real to you?
It's a super interesting question. My dad and my mom never talked about God or the concept of God, ever. And I didn't really even know to ask them what they believed because it wasn't something that was ever discussed. The first time anyone in my family brought up the word God or the concept of God, it was my uncle when I had come back from basic training, I think, or some maybe before I left. I can't remember the exact timeline, but I didn't really spend a lot of alone time with family members. And I remember that particular time I was actually spending some alone time with my uncle. I think I was working in his yard for some money. And during a break, he said, do you believe in God? Like just bluntly out of the blue, he just said, do you believe in God? And I was so taken aback at the question. It was the last thing I had ever thought would come out of my family's mouth was a question about God. And I said, I don't know. And that, I think, triggered a cascade of me trying to figure out what I believed in. And so I had read, about Buddhism and about Taoism, Islam, Christianity, Catholicism, Protestants. I was just trying to figure out what I thought made sense, which is a really arrogant way to go about looking at a religion, is what agrees with what I already think is right? My mom is agnostic, so she's very spiritual, but I don't know what she truly believes in. My grandmother was a devout Muslim. Like when I walked out of the house, she'd hold the Quran over my head and like say a prayer, and then it was very, very an organized religion, the way that Islam is. But I started a long, long journey trying to figure out what I believed. I think one of the most influential events that led me to Christianity was when I met my first wife, because she was a very devout Christian woman and her family was as well, and I wasn't. And they weren't very happy with that. But she held on to me and we persevered and got married against even the teachings in the Bible of a differently yoked couple. But I was an arrogant 21, 22-year-old guy, and she was a young woman who had faith in her husband. And we thought we could make this work. We don't have to be equally yoked. Like, whatever, we're invincible. We know everything, right? And it was a catastrophe. I mean, we fought about everything. And it was really because we had different values, just like the Bible says. But she challenged me to not give up on the concept. She said, hey, I know that my family's been terrible and so-and-so's been terrible, and they say that they're Christians, but they're behaving this way. Don't judge Christ based off of these people. These people are imperfect people. And I promised her that I would never close the book on it. And it's actually the tattoos on my hands. One of them is to seek to find God, and one is an absence. So it's like to have an absence of God and seek to find him is what the tattoo means to me. And it was towards the very end of our already failed marriage that I found Christianity. I was 28, I think. And it was actually right here in Ladera Ranch, like a street over was where it happened, on the steps of the front of the house at 3:00 in the morning on November 28th. I had come back from a deployment injured. I didn't know if I was going to be able to continue in my profession because of my injuries. My marriage had fallen apart. I had no money, I had no savings. My wife didn't want anything else to do with me. My kid at the time barely knew anything about me. So I had nothing. And I remember saying this to myself, like, cause I'm a pretty analytical person. And I sat down on the step and I was like, this is a result of 28 years of living my life by my rules, nobody else, not the laws of the country, not the laws of God, my rules. And this is my result. complete devastation, chaos, horrible. And I've destroyed everyone around me while destroying myself. And that analytical part kicked in. And I was thinking, if I repeat another 28 years under my rules, I'm probably going to get the same result. And so at that point, I literally, at that point, I got down on my knees and I looked up and I said, I give in. I give in. You win. I want to do it your way. And I gave myself to Christ. And right after that, it was like, I don't know if people have had a similar experience, but it was like right afterward, all of a sudden, everything around me like started to like, it felt like it was giving me messages, like signals. Like I would walk past a bookshelf and it would have like this message about Christ. Like I'd have this question in my head and I'm asking this question and I look over and there's like the answer is the title of a book. And I'm like, whoa, that's creepy. Or I'd flip through something and it would stop and it would say something about Christianity. I mean, it was like everywhere. It was really freaking me out at first. But then I saw kind of the beauty of it, that I was being led to these answers. I'm asking questions and I'm being given answers.
Yeah.
It was amazing.